Hey everybody, welcome to practice. Today we're going to do a full body flow for strength, mobility, and stability. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started at the very top of the mat. And I always like to encourage lots of freedom and lots of play, so we'll just kind of start moving around however feels good. For me, I'm going to slide bend into the knees, slide the hands down, and just kind of start moving the spine around a little bit. And this is sort of our time to just start breathing a little bit deeper, easier, soften through our face. See if we can pay attention to what we're experiencing. If you're sort of moving your spine through some cat-cows, you might even test a little bit of strength here if you pull your hands away in front of the chest and attempt to do the same work. Seeing if you can get the legs to work evenly. See if you can start to sense those 24 movable pieces in the spine. All those little places that they attach, more than 75 places, and have we moved all of them, especially the ones where the ribs are? As we feel ready the next time that we open towards spinal extension, we'll continue this fold of the pelvis over the thighs for a forward fold pose. And so if the floor feels really far away for you there, you can go ahead and perch yourself on up on your legs. Just a couple of moments to breathe. I always like to release through the back of the head here. Trying to feel the legs evenly, trying to feel the pelvis. You can move around, you can be still. Keeping the feet nice and heavy. See, can we slow motion roll the spine all the way on up? Once we get all the way up to a standing position, we can slide the hands down onto the pelvis. We can roll the pelvis forward, tipping it forward, and then scoop the pelvis underneath. Just kind of trying to feel here, okay, what's more normal? What's more habitual? What feels like I do it all the time versus what feels like I've maybe never done it? And now see if you can discern neutral with your pelvis. So if your pelvis were a bowl filled with water, it would neither be spilling forward nor backward. Once you get neutral with the pelvis, maybe kind of rocking on the feet a little bit. So now you're kind of introducing some levels of instability here, and you're asking your pelvis to remain nice and neutral. And hopefully that'll kind of turn on some muscles for you in your legs and the front of your pelvis, maybe in your buttocks. And now set that as your boundary. So from your navel down to your feet, you're no longer moving, you're sort of frozen. Slide the hands on up to the ribs and see if you can do the same thing. Tip the rib cage up and then tip the rib cage back. And really see if you can kind of freeze from the navel down through the feet. And again here, see, like, does one position feel more normal? Does something feel kind of strange? Now, as if you had access to what neutral actually is, which we can only just give our best guess, take your best guess and fix your ribs in neutral. So now you feel maybe supported on the front of you, the sides of you, the back of you. Slide your head up and back on that so you can kind of feel like your spine's in its natural four curvatures. And now arms down at the side, we can turn the palms open and start to reach the arms out to the side and up without moving through the ribs or the spine or the pelvis. And so if you like to merge breath and movement, you can inhale to take the arms up and exhale to take the arms down. And it's just kind of fun here to see what moves, even though the goal is to keep everything super duper still. We know that we're not expecting perfection. We're expecting things to move. And so just doing the very best that we can. Next time you bring the arms down by the side, we can turn the palms to face forward, but we're not rolling the arms forward. We want the arms to stay kind of back in their neutral socket. And then we'll extend through the wrists and do this without disturbing neutral in the pelvis or in the torso, in the ribs, the spine. And you just see what your arms will give you here. Can we take the arms forward and up, keeping that wrist extension? And can we take the arms forward and down? Seeing if we can do that just twice more. Might feel very sensational if this is, one of the first times that you're doing this. And then the next time that the arms come down, flip the palms so they go the opposite way, and just reach the palms up and back behind you like a little cape. But try not to disturb the spine, the ribs, or the pelvis. As you're ready, roll out through the wrists, relax them down. The next breath in, we can reach the arms up to the sky. And on the exhale, we can tip over the legs towards a forward fold. From here, we can inhale, lengthen the spine forward towards like a halfway lift. And now you're gonna be at a different height than I am here. You might even be quite lifted. We wanna feel from tailbone to crown. Can I get myself neutral? Pelvis neutral with the ribs, chest open, neck and throat in that line. Just kind of see what you can build for yourself here and breathe in nice and full and deep. And on the exhale, forward fold. And your favorite way to come up to stand, however that is, maybe reaching up through the arms and bringing the hands down in front of the chest. And now setting your legs up any way you like them for chair pose. You can take a little bend into the knee here, kind of move around any way that feels good right out of the gate. Breathing nice and full and deep. We want to pick a challenge level where we're feeling challenged, but we're not overwhelmed. And then just kind of hold and chill out here for a sec. We want triple flexion here. We really want our legs to figure out how to accordion themselves down to the ground. That's a really useful skill for them to have. So we want to get more flexion right here in the ankles. We do that by taking the shins forward. We want to get more flexion right here in the knees. We do that by taking the thighs down. We want more flexion right here in the hips. We get that by taking the pelvis back and down on a diag. Now breathe, be easy here. It's gonna get a little bit more hot, so we're gonna lift up out of that a couple of inches, and we'll come back down a couple of inches. Easing up and down, and trying to kind of sense for yourself like ankle flexion, knee flexion, hip flexion. Have you evenly committed yourself to all three of those actions? Are you forgetting one? Great job, my friends. When you're ready, forward fold, tipping over the legs. On the breath in, maybe we lengthen out towards that halfway position again, lengthening forward. And on the exhale, fold. Your favorite way to come on up to stand, here we are. All the way on up, maybe you reach the arms. And we bring the arms back down in front of the chest. Your own timing, reaching the arms all the way up. And tipping all the way down to the ground. From here, we can ground the hands. We can step the feet on back towards downward facing dog pose, our first one. So bearing a little weight in the arms. And of course, if this doesn't feel like the right position for you to be in right now, you can take a tabletop. You can do something else that feels like, just the right thing for you to be doing. But here, let's see, can we breathe? Maybe you move, maybe you're still. Can I feel everything? Does everything feel like it's being used versus sort of like hanging out in a position? And if you find something that's hanging out, your wrists or your shoulders or something, what would you need to do to make them feel like they were participating, engaged, involved? So get some muscular support for yourself in your fingers, your palms, your arms, all the way up into your shoulders. As you feel ready, slow motion, we're going to take the knees down to the ground, shifting the shoulders forward over the wrist toward tabletop. We just want to feel this back and forth a couple of times. So slow motion, lift the knees, come up and back, downward facing dog. Let's keep going. Drawing ourselves forward, tabletop. and downward facing dog. Let's see, do we have one more of those? Just see, like, can I feel everything? It's really hard. Feel the pelvis, feel the ribs, the spine, the shoulder blades. As we come back to downward facing dog, let's get off these hands of ours so we can push off them one at a time to walk them all the way back to the feet there, standing over the legs at the back of the mat. If you like, you can lengthen forward out to halfway lift. You can always skip that too if you're not feeling it or understanding it right now. And forward fold. And then however you like to come all the way on up. Eventually reaching up with the arms and taking the hands down. All right, we're at the back of the mat. Let's set the legs up in neutral. We know our legs are in neutral when the knees are facing forward. So you can take a little bend into the knees. Are my knees facing forward? Do my feet feel pretty neutral, normal underneath the knees? Okay. And now we're chair pose. And so we've just been here before. So let's go up and down from this. And the point is to feel the feet work. Feel your inner and outer ankle work. See, are they sort of evenly distributed? Let that go up to the inner and outer knee. Feel, are your inner and outer knee working evenly, or are they sort of like shifting, or is it buckling left to right? See up through the inseam and outseam of the leg as you go down. Okay, let's hold this chair here. Again, focusing on ankle flexion, knee flexion, hip flexion. Feeling the torso here. If you like, maybe you cactus the arms and you inhale, open through the chest, and exhale, wrap the elbows forward, curl the heart back. Maybe just doing that one more time. As you feel ready, opening, maybe you keep the cactus as you come all the way on up out of that, reaching the arms all the way up from the sky, and bringing them all the way back down by the side. Taking the hands to the pelvis. When the hands wrap around front, feel the frontal hip bones right here. And if you can actually get yourself where you can look at yourself in a mirror, that can also be really helpful. So we want the pelvis not to move. We want the upper body not to move. We're just gonna see, can I transfer weight into the left foot and reach my right leg out to the side? So again, when you can see yourself, you can get that like visual feedback of like, did my pelvis shift? Did my upper body tip over? And so here, just find like, okay, can I get myself so that my pelvis is upright, my chest is upright, and now I can really feel like, oh, there's muscles back here in the hip that help create this action. Can I get any more lift out to the side without tipping anything? And then let's go ahead. As we bring that leg back in, actually bring it in front. So we're walking forward on the mat. And then we can bring the back foot forward as well. Now we'll try chair pose again, but this time we'll externally rotate the legs. So it'll be more like your yogi squat. So heels in, toes out, maybe a little bit wider than your hips. And I don't want to micromanage this position for you. So just find a position that you feel like you're okay to work in. I'm going to have hands in front of the body, but you can always up the challenge by doing them behind the head or by the ears as well. Let's go ahead and go down, kind of just like to the height of a chair pose. So we're not trying to go all the way down. We're focusing on ankle flexion, knee flexion, hip flexion, and then a neutral relationship from pelvis out through the head, right? So now let's do it up and down. Easy breathing, easy face. This will be our last one. Let's hold it down there. Feel yourself. You can even kind of sway from right to left. Sway from right to left. As you feel ready, back to center. Come on up out of this. We can heel toe the feet in. And now we can do the other side. So hands onto the pelvis. You can feel your frontal hip bones here. That'll tell you if your pelvis is knocking. So you get yourself nice and neutral lifted. This time I think it's the left leg going out. or whatever one you just didn't do. Okay? And so find yourself, try to get yourself as lifted as possible, as neutral as possible, except for this leg. It's just hip abduction there, but everything else is in like anatomical neutral. And the more specific we can get, then the more specific our results are, instead of being wishy-washy or sort of like we don't know what to expect because we don't actually know what we're doing or why we're doing it. Here it's very clear. We're abducting the leg, we're building that capacity. And by the way, if you're falling off balance, feel free to grab onto a couch or a chair or a wall. Thanks for holding it with me. Go ahead, bring it back in, and not just in, but forward, so you're stepping forward. This time, take your legs a little bit wider. Remember, we did external rotation. Now it's time for internal, so go ahead, turn your toes in. This might feel weird. Hands onto the pelvis. We're gonna go in and out of chair pose again. So coming down a little bit here, ankle flexion, knee flexion, hip flexion. And we want this to be evenly set between the legs. So with your hands on your pelvis, feel from pelvis to armpit. Measure that distance. It should be the same on both sides of your torso. And then press down and come up. Going in and out. And so if you need this to be less challenging, do less range of motion. If you need this to be more challenging, do more range of motion. And when I say more, I mean equally, ankles, knees, and hips, all those points of flexion. Get really in there because it'll be hard in 3, 2, 1. And maybe that's it. So go ahead, bring your legs back together. We're gonna do it one more time. Let's go ahead, take the right leg out to the side. And again, kind of feel your pelvis there. It's natural, like your legs are levers of your pelvis. So when the legs move, they want to move the pelvis with it. This is stability to say, hold on a second, no pelvis. You don't get to go with Mr. Right Leg right now. You have a different job to do. And so the brain has to now make a distinction between these two structures and learn how to use these two structures independently of each other. Okay, if you have space to go forward, go ahead, step yourself forward. We're gonna go ahead, take the feet a little bit wider than the hips again. I'm gonna take the hands in front of the chest. Here we go, it's another chair pose up and down, but we have the option of lifting up to the tippy toes. So if you want tippy toes, press down through the balls of the feet, coming down and up. And if you feel like little pops in the joints, that can be totally normal. So as long as it's not painful, you know, we are looking to avoid painful ranges. But as long as it's not painful, we're cool, right? Okay, we're probably good there. Our last one, let's go ahead, lift that left leg out to the side, hip abduction. See what your pelvis is doing. Where does it want to sass off to? And again, you can always take that measurement from your hip bones all the way up through the armpits. And that can be a really good place to just kind of check in with, see, am I neutral? Okay, let's go ahead and take that leg in, shake it out if you need. Feel how your legs feel, how your hips feel here. Let's work with our spine a little bit. So we're gonna go towards neutral in our pelvis, in our ribs, head back, chest open, shoulders, if we can discern, like we probably carry them mostly forward in the socket, rolled forward. So can I just sense what neutral might be here? And the more neutral I can set myself in, the better this will feel, because we're gonna segment a twist from the spine from the top down. So now we're just gonna work with the 7 cervical sort of vertebra in the neck, and we're gonna try to keep the neck in its position in space, but just rotate it on its axis. So we can take the chin and start to turn it towards the left shoulder, but don't only turn it as much as it's not kind of yanking on the right shoulder. Okay, so it might not be super far. And I want you to see, Are your ears about as evenly lifted from your chest, or is one sort of cocked down? And we want to get the ears evenly lifted so the neck as a cylinder is evenly lifting. Now just kind of ask yourself, like, do I have any more rotational capacity there? And now we're going to bring in the next section, the 12 thoracic vertebra where the ribs are. So glue your belly button down to the floor. That's not moving, but start to turn your torso into the twist as well. And again, if you can do this in front of a mirror, your mirror can help orient you because you want armpits evenly lifted from your pelvis. You want to do this without your pelvis being pulled into it. So you're really contracting the right muscle groups through the side body. And now we're going to see if we can add in the last section, turning the pelvis with it. Keep rooting down through both feet evenly. Draw the legs up into the pelvis evenly. Okay, keep spinning, but pelvis to armpits evenly distanced. And then armpits to ears evenly distanced. And now keep your chest and your head, but just turn your pelvis back forward. And keep your neck, but turn your chest back forward. And then turn your chin back forward. Just kind of feel there, like, how did that go? We'll do the other side. So when you're ready, you find neutral. And then we turn the chin over towards the right shoulder, but not so much that it's yanking on anything in the left side. Okay, ears evenly lifted. Kind of feel the axis of the spine here, because we want to respect that as we start to now turn the rib cage into the twist as well. And you got to press down through both feet. That'll kind of help anchor the pelvis and even out the pelvis so that now you can feel pelvis to armpits. What's the distance like? And then armpits to ears. And then add in the pelvis as well. So you're just kind of turning up like a little clock or something like that. Let's go again. Unwind the pelvis first. Keep the chin in it, but unwind the torso. And then turn the chin. You can shake out anything that feels good here. From here, let's go ahead, come in towards a chair pose. The floor is right here, so you can reach down for it. We're gonna see if we can slow motion start to sit the hips down towards the heels. The heels will lift. And from there, we can come down onto the bottom. We made it. And from down on the bottom, let's set our legs up for a little 90-90, shall we? So let's go ahead and cross the right leg in front, and we'll hook the left leg back, sort of like pinwheel wheels. Now, where we're probably gonna feel the most constriction is in this back hip. And so if that's you, I want you to feel free to sort of walk yourself as far back as you need to sort of feel that space open up here, right? Or like for it to be okay for you to be there. And so that's the position. You're upright in the pelvis or you're leaning back. And now we decide, everyone has their own torso position. We see, can I point the back toes? And I'm just gonna see, I wanna glue my pelvis where it is. I don't want it to move. I want to target this action right in that hip crease, or like the underwear line is sometimes how I imagine it. I'm gonna see, can I lift my left knee any amount? I'm gonna keep the toe on the ground just for leverage. But see, can I get the left knee to lift any amount? Maybe it's just a couple of inches, and then down. And just repeat that 2 more times. Lift the left knee, try not to move the pelvis here. You can put your hands there, and just go up and down. 1 more. Okay, from here, we're gonna see, lift the knee to where it can go, but now let your pelvis move with it so you can turn open. And you can reset yourself up here so the pelvis is centered between the legs, but the heels down. You can lean back or you can be up supported, right? And we're gonna see taking the legs out and down behind us without the pelvis moving. So I want my low back to be sort of in a neutral relationship with the rest of the spine. I don't want it to be sinking down here. Because if I can do that enough, it's sort of like I'm pressing my pelvis in as the legs are opening out. When you do that, you feel much more support from the back and the backs of the hips. And then from here, see, can you just roll into the other side or somehow get to the other side? So you'll take your left leg forward, your right leg back into like a little pinwheel situation. And be open to the possibility that this time may be totally different, right? So get your legs into some place, your torso into some place where you feel like you can work just a little bit here. So we're targeting internal rotation of this hip and its ability to control movement out of internal rotation. That's big. So when you're ready, let's go ahead and lift the right knee any amount and then take it back down. And let's do this 2 more times, lifting it, but don't let your pelvis move. And down. And up. And down. And now we're gonna lift it to its capacity without the pelvis moving. Now we'll let the pelvis move with it. Here we go. We're in the center here, letting the legs open, open, open. Getting the pelvis lifting up from that. Great job. Let's go ahead and just meet in a comfortable seated position, even if you perch yourself up on a couch or a chair for that. But just see, how do your hips feel now? Are they a little bit more coaxed in, easily coaxed into this shape? See if you can get your pelvis into neutral, your ribs into neutral, your head into neutral, up above that. We'll see if we can not disturb any of that, but take the hands behind the head, elbows wide, and just see if we can move the spine around a little bit. If you want to twist, you can twist. If you want to side bend, you can side bend. I'm going to keep my arms lifted though, so that then I'm asking my muscles to do their own work rather than like, you know, taking a hand down to the ground and sort of falling into it and letting something be more passive. And now see if you can just kind of find a place, a seated position where you feel comfortable to chill out for the next couple of minutes. Just kind of let the nervous system process, do a little reset. So if you'd like to close your eyes, you can close your eyes. If you like to keep them open, you can practice just letting the eyes absorb the visual field without sort of picking out what you find interesting in what you're looking at. It's always nice to have a little bit of silent sitting, just so we can take time to put a pause between our thinking and the behavior that it creates. So if you have a couple of extra minutes you'd like to spend sitting, I invite you to do that. This is where I will leave us formally today. So thanks so much for your attention. As always, if you'd like to donate to this work, I'll put a link to our Patreon down below. But that's all for this week. I'll see you right here next week. Bye-bye.